Hey, what's going on, everyone? Just got back from seeing The Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm super stoked to talk about it. Obviously, this is the first Star Wars film that we've had in the past 7 years. This one's coming to us from director Jon Favreau, who also created the series The Mandalorian, and I was super interested to see what he would do with this movie. In this film, we are catching up with The Mandalorian and Grogu after the events of Season 3 as they are hunting down Imperial remnants for the New Republic. They are faced with a decision that will not only change their mission, but possibly their entire lives. And you can have that description for free, Disney PR. Most of the time when your cast and crew is asked, what is this movie about, we get answers like this.
They do everything together. They're on their missions together. Go see the movie.
I get what they're saying. It's just not a great way to hype up or sell a movie. Now, I'm not here to sell you this movie. I'm here to tell you my honest thoughts on how this film was. And I was super skeptical because I didn't hate season 3 of The Mandalorian as much as a lot of people, but I certainly was disappointed, I think, with the overall outcome and product. And I thought that it was very rushed and a little bit half-assed in some of the story points. But I loved seasons 1 and 2, and I was hoping we can get back to a little bit of that magic. I think this is a really good Star Wars movie, though, and I'm very happy to report that because I did think it was not going to be good going into it. I'm not going to lie to you. I really thought I was going to walk out disappointed. Now, within 7 years, this is what they gave us, which I don't know why it took that long to crank something out like this, considering this is a simple space adventure. They are going back to basics here, and that's okay because a simple space adventure is what made Star Wars what it was in the first place, and maybe we do need to crank out a few of these before we try to hype the brand back up. I do feel the people behind this are interested in making Star Wars, not recontextualizing Star Wars, not altering Star Wars, just making some damn good Star Wars, and I think that's something that a lot of people are going to enjoy about this movie. I like a lot of the stuff that came out of Disney, Rogue One, Andor. Those are huge highlights. I even think the Solo movie is a lot of fun. The sequel trilogy is a bit messy for me, although I do like a couple of the installments, and it has its moments. But everything that came out under the past regime has been a bit rocky and a bit messy, and so far, coming out of the Dave Filoni regime, now that he has taken over, I'm hoping we get consistent projects that do feel like Star Wars and really scratch that itch of fun that we've kind of been missing, I feel like. And that is what this movie did. Even though Solo, a Star Wars story, was fun space adventure, it was like really the only one that really went for the fun. A lot of other projects really went for the dark and gritty of it. Nothing wrong with that, but you have to find a balance between the two for the fans. Seeing Jon Favreau's approach to directing this film really shows me that he understands the George Lucas mentality. And again, not that you have to be beholden to that in every aspect, but I did feel like he took the best from George's Star Wars movies and just meshed a really good story and adventure out of it in this one. I think the thing that holds it back mostly is the fact that it is all it has to offer is a simple space adventure. But again, sometimes that's all something needs to be, and that's okay. And I'm not too worried about it other than that. There's also a couple different areas that have pacing issues for sure. And the movie's a bit longer than I was expecting, to be honest with you, or it felt a little longer than I was expecting it to feel, but it wasn't in an I'm bored kind of way. There's just those couple of sequences that just go on a bit. One has to do with Rod of the Hutt. It's a bit of an exposition sequence, and the other one has to do with little Grogu, and he's adorable to watch throughout, but there was one sequence involving him in a swamp that I just thought went on just a little too long. Although I like the idea behind both of those sequences, and just because those sequences weren't as serviceable to the story that I'm talking about does not mean the characters were not. I actually really like Jeremy Allen White here as Rod of the Hutt. I know that the trailers haven't shown a lot of him, and I think that was a really good move, but I really like that he's truly giving a performance to this character, and I don't think it's going to work for everybody. I imagine the people that are going to have an issue with Rod of the Hutt also are the same people that have an issue with Dex's Diner and Attack of the Clones. And speaking of Attack of the Clones, it's not one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but I gotta say they pulled a lot of influence from it, but the stuff that really works in Attack of the Clones and brought it into this movie. There's a lot of influence from the original Star Wars. It really feels like it is trying to be that fun adventure that Star Wars A New Hope is, but it's not doing it in such a way where it feels like the movie thinks it's better than A New Hope or original Star Wars. I just think it is existing for what it is. And yeah, a couple of times I was definitely missing that little bit of extra depth, but that is not to say that this movie does not touch on bigger themes. It absolutely does, as all Star Wars Wars should, and I think it has a lot to say about parenthood, and I really enjoyed watching that play out. I do think that the best of the relationship that we see in the show from Mandalorian and Grogu, we do get in this movie again, and I really liked watching these two characters work together and even separately from time to time in the film. I think that this movie is doing a whole lot as far as the action sequences go, and it's a very, very pulpy space adventure, and I think within that, it's hard to navigate whether this is the greatest Star Wars movie you've ever seen or if this is the worst Star Wars movie you've ever seen. So I think anybody coming out and saying one of those two things definitively is going to be very, very crazy. You're either going to like it or you're not, that's for sure. And do I expect this to work for everybody the way it did for me? Absolutely not. Some people just want the darker, gritty Andor style, and that's okay. And what I love about Star Wars in the first place is that there is Star Wars out there for everyone, and this really shows it. But I do think that this is a family-friendly film, a kid-friendly film, like more than a lot of other Star Wars things. But I don't mean that in a way that's a detriment to the movie either. I really don't. I didn't feel like it was too kid-friendly for me. I still felt like I was completely invested from beginning to end. And when I came out of the movie, I was smiling from ear to ear. I really had such a great time. It looks amazing in the IMAX. The IMAX is definitely the way to go. Don't let anybody tell you differently on that. You should see this in the IMAX screen. I've heard people say that because it feels like a television show, you should watch it on Disney Plus. And first of all, it does not feel like a TV show. It feels like a movie. This feels like The Mandalorian crafted for film, and that's the way you should go see it. The only thing I would give people on the episodic nature of this is that it definitely feels like it's split into two halves. Again, that does not necessarily feel like a detriment to the movie. There is a plot point I do wish they would have built up to a little bit better in the second half, that being said. But the payoff of all of it to me was just so good, and there are emotional moments in the movie I honestly did find myself welling up just a touch, and it's because I spent so much time with these characters that I genuinely felt rewarded by the end of it. It's not the best Star Wars of all time, and nor did I think it would be, because it's really hard to do that. But I do think it's a movie that might just understand what Star Wars needs and how to bring Star Wars back. I really hope a lot of you guys go see it, because I wasn't expecting much out of it, but I gotta say, I had so much fun. And again, there are a couple scenes that I think will drag for you, but that does not mean that the movie sucks. I really did walk out smiling. Grogu is just as adorable as ever, and I was very, very touched with a couple of the scenes as well that he had. He's definitely a character that's becoming more self-sufficient without giving things away, and I enjoyed seeing that growth for the character. The little droid smiths, the little Babu Frick guys are so good in this movie. I wasn't expecting to love them as much as I did, but the relationship and dynamic that they have with Grogu is really, really good, and it works for me. The character of Embo's in the film, you guys have seen that in the trailer. He really works for me as well. I really love the dynamic that he had with Mando in particular. And Pedro Pascal is really good for what he has to do here. He is the Mandalorian Din Djarin again. You can't really ask for much more than that. We already love this character, but we get to see the character Din Djarin do some really great stuff in this one. When he first entered onto the screen, my audience definitely popped and cheered, so that was very, very cool. He has a very cool entrance without giving anything away. And in the back of my mind, you could still feel the overall Imperial threat, which is kind of the tone I was hoping this would set. I think my overall problem with this movie is this, because here's the thing. I was looking for a very simple, fun space adventure, which this delivers, and you should see it definitely, absolutely. Disney as a company is struggling to get people excited for Star Wars right now. They are also struggling to get people excited about what's coming on Disney Plus. This is no secret here. The Disney Plus Star Wars shows have been kind of falling, at least in viewership. Quality is a subjective thing. You can tell me what you think in the comment section about each individual project. I'm just telling you, it's got Disney a little bit worried about this brand right now. So on top of not marketing this movie very well, which I'm not going to dock the movie itself for, I do think that this movie should have been nothing other than the fact, at the end of the day, this does take place in a certain time period in Star Wars, which is the New Republic time period, which Ahsoka also takes place within this time period. At the end of Ahsoka, we have Ahsoka and Sabine stuck on a planet in a whole other galaxy. I think you could have come up with a space adventure that was just as fun if the orders for Mando were to go get Ahsoka and Sabine off that other planet. Then at the end, Mando could have shown up on that planet, and you could could have done a Marvel-like thing, and I'm paraphrasing here. You could have ended the movie with The Mandalorian will return in Ahsoka Season 2, and then you could have led that into Ahsoka Season 2. And then not only are your moviegoers excited because it adds more layers to the Star Wars universe, but they are now like, okay, I guess we got to get Disney Plus for Ahsoka Season 2, and they will watch it to continue that story. And you are starting to reinforce some of that goodwill back into people. Not that this movie can't do it on its own already, because like I said, I think it is very fun. I think a lot of people are going to like it. I think it's going to scratch an itch for a lot of Star Wars fans. But where my mind goes is just still why this movie was anything other than that. You still could have had your simple, fun space adventure. I don't know, because that idea doesn't sound like rocket science to me. It actually sounds like the idea that just makes the most sense for the plot. And I think that is the overall thing that I struggle with, is why didn't they do that? And it goes a little bit beyond just wanting something at this point and expecting something and getting something different and getting angry about it. It really is just the thing that makes the most sense. And it's weird that my dumb brain could come up with that, but nobody else over there really wanted to try that out. I don't know. And I'm hoping with this new regime we get some of these problems fixed, because a lot of Star Wars' problem right now is it does feel very disconnected and very directionless, and this would have been a really cool direction to go for them. Take away that gripe, I still really enjoyed this movie. And unless you hate fun, you should go check it out, and I think you'll enjoy it too. I want to thank you guys for joining today. If you like the content here, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit the bell for notifications. It's always much appreciated. My name is Dom, and I will talk to you guys later.